Greetings, this is Paul, your Pacific Northwest trail guide. I want to help you pick your next trail to explore, so let's check this one out. If there is one hike in the Columbia River Gorge that I think everyone should do at least once, this is it. Well, maybe not everyone though. For one, it's got some treacherous high cliffside trail that might be a no-go for you if you've got a more than healthy fear of heights. This in and out hike is also a pretty long one, but you can do shorter versions. If you follow the route in this guide, you'll travel about 13 miles total, but the ascent is over that distance only about 1,700 feet. It is not necessarily a strenuous hike, just a lot of slow, gradual ascent in and descent out. This is a one-of-a-kind route featuring 8 major waterfalls along the way, including the iconic Tunnel Falls, as well as dramatic, tall, narrow gorges, and a trail that is in many places cut into the rocks over 100 years ago to make this route possible. Bring your Northwest Forest Pass to park at the trailhead here, or grab a day pass at the lot kiosk. You might consider rain gear depending on the season. Even if it is not actively raining, some areas of the trail have rock overhangs, which may be dripping on you, even if it has only rained recently. This isn't a particularly good hike for foraging. You may spot a berry bush here and there, but for the most part, you're hiking up a rocky gorge with little growing trailside. This hike is easily found off of Interstate 84 in the gorge. Take an exit soon after passing by the Bonneville Dam exit onto Eagle Creek Lane, which takes you by a little fish hatchery. You pass by it and continue up the road, which goes all the way up to a little loop of parking right by the trailhead. Depending on when you go, there may not be parking available close to the trailhead, so factor in a little extra walk on the road if you need to park farther away. There is a much larger parking area close to the hatchery. I'll be showing you a route that goes 6.5 miles up the gorge to 7 Mile Falls and back. I'll cover the route in 3 different sections. The first section will take us by a couple of waterfalls, including Punchbowl Falls, and end at the bridge over Tish Creek. As you get going up the trailhead a little more, you start to ascend up into Eagle Creek Gorge. I have never actually done this hike in the summer. I'm sure it's great to do then too, but it takes on a whole new life in the fall, with vibrant colors and water streaming all over the cliffs along the trail. Long before you get a glimpse of the first but small waterfall on a stream merging with Eagle Creek here, Walnut Falls. This also happens to be near your first section of steep cliffside trail, where cables are installed should you need a safety line. As you ascend high above the creek, Try not to get too distracted by the stunning cliffs on the other side, and remember the treacherous drop right beside you. After the first cable section ends and you transition to a wider trail, you get a distant view up to Sorensen Falls in the distance. There doesn't seem to be much views of it closer up from the trail. As you come up alongside it, the trail goes in to cross Sorensen Creek with some helpful man-made stepping stones. Right after that, the trail comes back to the gorge, and you approach a short spur trail which goes down to the creek if you want to visit lower Punchbowl Falls, shown here. The main trail continues on though, and approaches a viewpoint for Punchbowl Falls, seen from high above. Continuing past that, you soon reach the bridge over Tish Creek. This next section will take us over a bridge to cross Fern Creek, then by a few more waterfalls, Lewitt Falls, Schoonachuk Falls, and others. And finally, we end up at the Wy'east Camp, which is right before the Marco-Hatfield Wilderness boundary. The bridge over Fern Creek is pretty high, but it's just a warm-up compared to the next one. Soon you are back along Eagle Creek and going along another cliff and cable section. As you come upon another view straight up the gorge, you get a nice view of a section where several large boulders have fallen from the cliffs into the creek. And a short plunge that is near Lewitt Falls can be seen far up in the distance. You reach that, and a wide open view of Lewitt Falls greets you as you pass by. Shortly after Lewitt Falls, you come upon a very tall and narrow gorge section, which is spanned by a high bridge, seen up ahead. As you come off of High Bridge, the short but mighty Skoonochuck Falls is seen up in the distance. The trail eventually comes down to creek level, and you're looking up at cliffs near Tennis Camp, rather than down into narrow gorges. You'll pass by 4 Mile Falls across the creek before approaching 4.5 Mile Bridge here, which crosses to put you on the east side of Eagle Creek again. It's a nice break spot with easy water access. Continue on past the tiny Tennis Falls, and the trail rises a little higher above the creek. You finally reach Wy'east Camp, which at this time has many of the sites closed for restoration. Don't even think about camping here. Oh, maybe you can camp down here though. And now the final section. It takes us by a creek crossing at Wy'east Falls, and after a while we get to the end, which is an amazing finale of Grand Union Falls, Tunnel Falls, Twister Falls, and finally 7 Mile Falls. You may not even notice Wy'east Falls here as you cross a creek, unless you happen to look back, but you'll surely see it on your return. Less than a mile later, the trail approaches an overhung section of the trail that was cut into the cliff in an area of large basalt columns, where the sheared ends of these columns are offered as stepping stones. The dramatic Grand Union Falls reveals itself as you round the corner of this rocky outcrop. That section may have been amazing, but you may soon forget it as you round a corner soon after and Tunnel Falls comes into view. It cascades down the face of a cliff, and as you get closer, its rush becomes more and more powerful in your ears. Soon you are right next to it, and then passing through a tunnel blasted into the rock behind it. trail continues on to another cable section, and arguably the most vertigo-inducing section of this hike. The creek sits over 100 feet below as you cling to the cliff face approaching the top of Twister Falls. A couple of huge isolated fir trees stand out at the bottom of the gorge and appear to have been unscathed in the 2017 Eagle Creek fire. What a lucky spot to grow. Continuing on past Twister Falls, you soon reach 7 Mile Falls in our final stop. Approach to your favorite viewpoint, and know that if you choose to visit on a rainy day, this nice dry cliff overhang awaits you to provide comfort for as long as you want to hang out. Eventually you have to return though and start back. There are so many dramatic and unique things on this hike greeting you around every corner. It makes the hike seem shorter than it is. Your whole trip back is just a wonderful revisiting of all these marvels you just visited, but from a different perspective. Hello. Enjoy everything one more time, and think on what season you might visit this place on next. Whether on a windy and rainy fall day like I chose, or a hot summer day with stops to cool off in Eagle Creek, neither will disappoint. Here are my trail ratings for this route. The well-traveled trail is typically in good condition and without major obstacles. I will rate it 2 though, in consideration of the high cliffs and falling danger involved to be aware of. Navigation is typically not a challenge on this route, as you are simply following a creekside trail the whole way. This is longer than average for a day hike, and it rates 4 boots. The climb, I only rate it 2 out of 5. You are going up and down along the way, but it is very gradual and only occasionally any steep grade. That's all for this edition of Pacific Northwest Trail Guide. I hope I have or will soon help you pick your next trail to explore. I scouted this trail in October of 2025, but trails are always evolving. If you pick this trail and encounter any changes people might like to know about, please help out your fellow explorers by sharing in the comments on this video. I've shown some of the beautiful sights of this trail in what feeble capacity video can render. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but an experience with all of your senses cannot even be conveyed in pictures or video. So don't take my word for it. Get out there and see it for yourself.